What's going on, guys? Welcome back to F123 for My Team Career Mode Season 2, round number 14, the Portuguese Grand Prix. Yes, we're racing in Portugal for the first time at Portimao. It's a track that I've quite enjoyed racing at in previous F1 games, so excited to get into this one here today. We've also put changed a couple of our sponsors. As you can see, there was one at the top which I think's glitched out because it was like score 25 points in a season in the constructors and you get like 13 million. I think that's glitched out. I didn't choose that one just in case it does, it's not really fair if that is actually what it ends up doing, so I didn't bother choosing that one. Choose a couple of different ones. And then looking at R&D, things are still very close. We've actually just got ahead of Ferrari again, only just. McLaren, though, have had another big old upgrade that's shoved them right up to the top, just behind Aston Martin. It's basically Aston Martin, McLaren, and Mercedes right at the top there, and myself and Ferrari a bit further back. Red Bull starting to bring themselves back up towards that top group again, though, after being a little bit nowhere in the last couple of rounds. As we get into Q1 here, yeah, love this track, really fun track. I'm going to be honest, wasn't feeling great driving around here though. I just didn't really, I don't know, the car felt really understeery. Every time before I go to it, when I go to a new track, I always do a couple of time trial laps with a kind of a full, all cars equal, to kind of get an idea of what difficulty to use and get used to the track a little bit. I drove on there and that was driving really well. Coming to my team, my car just seemed really understeery, mainly through the first couple of corners. It's mainly turn one, and you'll see here we're starting in Q2 lap from the very beginning because I don't make it out of Q2. Yeah, I think we've only missed out on Q3 once so far this season as we go very deep into turn two. That is another corner I was having a lot of issues with. But yeah, I believe I've only missed Q3 once. That was Las Vegas last season. We missed it again here, so it's 2 in a row, and the next race after this one is Las Vegas as well. So unless I can do better in Vegas this time, I don't know how we're gonna, we might have 2 Q2 exits in a row, or 2 not Q3s in a row if we get knocked out in Q1 in Vegas. I don't know, I haven't recorded that one yet, but yeah, just not feeling it this time. I guess I have to mess around the difficulty a little bit here. Sometimes when you do the AI difficulty calculator, it does give you, most of the time it's very correct, but I found with Vegas and I found with this one as well, it gave me a very high difficulty. So I usually run at about anywhere from like 94 to like 97, 98 is usually what I end up running at tracks. This told me to run at 104. So we're running at 104 and it's a little bit too high. We do not make it through. Yuki Tsunoda in P4, he does make it through. We've only beaten Ocon. We're behind both of the Haas cars. So that just shows how we've really not had a good qualifying here. P15 on the grid. Verstappen also not making it through in the Red Bull, beaten by his teammate in qualifying again. And yeah, this is interesting. We're starting outside the top 10 for the first time in a while without a penalty. So let's see how this goes.
Welcome along then to Portimao, one of the busiest towns in the Algarve and a breathtaking destination that brings tourists from all around the world to the shores of southern Portugal. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula One World Championship, and with a circuit this wide, we could be in for a lot of exciting wheel-to-wheel action today. So Portimao features 15 turns over the course of its 2.9-mile length. 9 are right-handers, 6 are to the left. This is a track with a lot of uphill action, which only accentuates the importance of getting those exits right, especially at turn 4, where a good line can present opportunities to pass on the way into turn 5. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Sainz, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Tsunoda, Gasly, Perez, Verstappen, Stroll, Doohan, Liam Lawson, Davies, Ocon, Albon, Magnussen, Sargent, Bottas, De Vries and Zhou Guanyu. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And a warm welcome to Natalie Pinkham, who's beside me in the commentary box today. The last few races have been a bit rough for them, unable to get a clean run. That's got to have some effect on their confidence, surely.
It's not an ideal situation by any means. When you get into a bad run like that, there's always the risk of frustration creeping in, which can cause more mistakes and locks you into this vicious cycle. Hopefully today they can get through turn 1 cleanly and stay calm for the rest of the race.
Alright, so here we go, P15 on the grid for the Portuguese Grand Prix. That's 2 races in a row now that we're way down outside the top 10 because of our grid penalty in Brazil. It's a good start though. It's not a good start for the 2 Haas cars who we slide in between of, and we're already up to P12 at the start here, so a very good start for us. The 2 Red Bulls side by side through turn 1. Verstappen trying to get past his teammate Perez, who qualified in front of him. We're going to take an opportunistic moment as the 2 Red Bulls are fighting, and there's a big train up ahead to get up the inside of Verstappen, but he manages to just about stay ahead of us, and we can't make that position yet. But the run down into what I believe is turn 5 could be another opportunity here, as the AI kind of gets stuck up in trains in the first couple of laps, especially on lap 1. There's a yellow flag behind, bit of contact with some cars behind, I think. We do manage to get past Verstappen there though, so we're up into P11 already, not even halfway through this lap now, but we're up into P11, so it's been a pretty good start for us. And there's a bit of a checkerboard of TGL Motorsport, Red Bull, TGL and Red Bull here, as we've got Tsunoda, Perez, myself and Verstappen all in a line. So we're not too far away from our teammate. He's in P9. He's dropped a position from where he started in P8. So not the best start for my teammate here, but it's a good start for us, and we're just outside the top 10 already. As we come to the end of this lap, we've got a bit of pressure from Verstappen behind us though. A bit more pressure than we have that we're putting on Perez. So we're just going to try and use as much battery as we can down the straight. It looks like there's a Ferrari and a McLaren side by side up ahead. We catch up to Perez a little bit through here, and now I'm going to see if I can go for an opportunistic move. We brake. I wasn't actually going for a move here. We just braked where I expected to brake, and everybody just got stuck, and I actually looked at a move on Perez. I really wasn't expecting that there. We come around the next corner, we get sideways. Now Verstappen's attacking us. We've gone from attacking Perez to defending against Verstappen, as we're going to be just about side by side through this sort of hairpin corner, and we just about managed to defend from Verstappen. But yeah, interesting moment there going on to lap number 2. Here's a replay of the start. Looking at Lewis Hamilton, who started P3 in this race. He got the jump on both McLarens at the start. It was a McLaren 1-2, by the way. I mean, that's pretty crazy, showing that that car does have good pace now. But Hamilton manages to get past both McLarens and is now leading the race. This is a start from Lando Norris. He was, of course, on pole position for this race. Hamilton goes around the outside. Piastri, who starts on the medium tyres, is on the inside. So Norris had a worse start than his teammate on a harder compound of tyres, but he does manage to at least hang on to P2. But P1 for Hamilton in this championship battle we're having is pretty big when we are just outside the points at the moment. But we are looking for getting into that top 10, and Perez once again, we're just sniffing an opportunistic moment. The AI kind of leaving the door open a little bit, getting out of the way from us, and just braking a bit earlier than us through there. We're side by side with Perez, but it's now going to be 3 wide as we go down into turn 5. Verstappen's on the inside as well. This is a hell of a battle. We managed to get past Perez, so does Verstappen. We're now going to try and get past Verstappen because we haven't actually made up a position here. The 2 Red Bulls have just swapped places, but we can't get past Verstappen, so it's now, we're still in P11, but now we've got Perez behind us and Verstappen ahead of us. So it's all going on early on in this race. Yuki Tsunoda, my teammate, is now going for a move on Perez as well, who's falling back a little bit at this point in time. Oh no, sorry, that was me. Sorry. That was me getting past Verstappen, actually. God, I don't even know who is who in this game, apparently. And now we have got, what is this? That's George Russell, who started on the mediums. So I believe 3 drivers started on the mediums. Those were Lando Norris, George Russell, and Fernando Alonso. Russell just getting past Alonso there. putting himself into a good position on that strategy. We're looking at a move on Tsunoda here because he's a little bit slower than us, and we're going to just get the run and do what we did with Perez, but this time it's a big dive up the inside, go a little bit too deep. Tsunoda's going to try and come back at us here, but we're just about going to be ahead of him as we now come down the straight into turn 5. Hopefully Tsunoda can keep the position from Verstappen, and he will, so that's good for him. But yeah, we do get past our teammate. Now we have Alonso up ahead, who's looking rather slow here on those medium tyres. Gasly's just managed to get past him on the soft compound tyres, and we're going to have a look up the inside once again into this corner. Just seems to be the opportunistic move for us, but Alonso is going to fight this. We're going to be side by side, almost contact there, as we get a bit of a wiggle on around that corner, down the straight, side by side with Alonso, but we're just going to pull ahead a little bit late on the brakes there, but we managed to keep it together, and we're now up into P8 in this race, so making progress finally here. As now we have George Russell, who is really flying on these medium compound tyres, now has Carlos Sainz, I believe, the car ahead of him, and he's passed the Spaniard through into turn 1. Did it before even getting to turn 1, and that's now Russell up another position. Now Hamilton kept on leading this race, lap 13 here. Norris staying within kind of a second or just over a second, but he's going to come in on lap 13 for his pit stop, and he's going to try and get an undercut on Hamilton here. So let's see how this works out for Norris. Can he get the undercut? Hamilton comes into the pits the next time around, and he is just going to get out back ahead of Lando Norris. Norris right there, just overtaken one of the Williams, but Hamilton has just about managed to stay ahead, and he will keep the lead, the net lead of this race for now. Lap 14, the same lap Hamilton came in, we're also coming in. We came in the lap after our teammate, because I guess the way it works, whoever was in front when the race started is the one that gets the preferential treatment. So Tsunoda came in the lap before us. I think we were far enough ahead of him to not have to worry about an undercut here. We didn't have too many other cars around us, to be honest, and yeah, sure enough, we've got a pretty decent gap, although the two Red Bulls have swapped around once again, with now Perez ahead of Verstappen, as now Tsunoda is going for a move on Perez to get him up into, I believe, P9. That'll put him behind us, so it's actually worked out pretty well for us. We've gone from the two Red Bulls being ahead of us to now the two Red Bulls being behind both of us. I'm running P8, Tsunoda P9, it's Perez P10, and Verstappen is still back there in P11. So it's looking like a bit of a race at the moment between us and Red Bull. That seems like that could be the battle, although we are starting to pull away now, finding some good pace on these medium tyres. Russell, after his pit stop onto the hard compound tyres, is now making moves as well, showing good pace in this race. He's now gotten past Pierre Gasly, and I think Charles Leclerc is the next car ahead of him, but Charles Leclerc's teammate Carlos Sainz, currently running 3rd place, looking at a podium finish in this race, but it looks like he has an issue, and he's going to pull over to the side of the road and retire the car as he comes down here. Bit of smoke billows out of the engine, and that is Sainz out of the Portuguese Grand Prix after running in P3. That now gifts that P3 spot back to Oscar Piastri, who was only really behind Sainz because of the different strategy. Was it? Yeah, because, yeah, sorry, I think earlier I said that Norris was on mediums. Piastri was the one on the mediums. We'll correct myself about 5 minutes later. Russell now has gotten past Leclerc, so he is really flying on these hard compound tyres. So Russell now up into P4, I believe, as Magnussen goes for a spin, just like he did in Singapore, and just like he did in Singapore, makes contact with his teammate, Nick De Vries. So this time, neither of them, I don't think either of them actually have any damage, but of course it wiped them both out in Singapore. But yeah, Magnussen goes for a spin and then reverses right into the path of De Vries. We see it from De Vries' point of view. He goes around the outside to try and get past him, and then his teammate just reverses into him. I do not know what's going on with these two AlphaTauris. They've come to blows twice now in about 3 or 4 races. Not good. They're running right at the back as expected. Fernando Alonso now is making his charge back through the field. I'm wondering if he had an issue earlier on. Never heard anything from my engineer, but he really fell back, even compared to the other, medium to hard compound tyre runners. So he's now making his way back through the grid. I think he just got past Tsunoda, my teammate. as this is the battle right at the front, and it is for the lead because it's Lando Norris going for the move on Hamilton. Hamilton's trying to keep the position though through turn 1, but he can't do it. Lando Norris now back up into the lead of this race on lap 28. He started on pole, lost the lead right at the start, and it's taken him 28 laps to get that lead back again. But he will now try and pull away from Hamilton, but that will be difficult. As we continue on lap 31, we've just been reeling in Gasly this entire second half of the race. Not a lot going on our part. We've got a big gap. We really started to pull a gap to Tsunoda and Alonso behind. Alonso was catching us, but we started to then make gains on him. And yeah, we were making gains on Gasly, but not quite quick enough as Lando Norris crosses the line. He wins the Portuguese Grand Prix. I don't know what it is with Lando Norris in Portugal with my career saves, because in F1 21 and F1 22, he also won, I think, almost every race in Portugal. I don't know what it is with Norris in Portugal. He just loves it for some reason. Hamilton, I think, is going to come home second. We're going to come home in 7th. We couldn't quite catch Gasly. We just didn't quite have the pace. Gasly doing a great job in that Alpine, actually, because it is not one of the quicker cars. I mean, everybody's so close, but he's not one of the quicker ones, that Alpine. So, yeah, it's P7 for us. So let's see what this does to the championship.
And that's it then for the Portuguese Grand Prix. And what a sensational victory they've managed to pull off here. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, confidence breeds confidence. Success breeds success. They are very much enjoying a purple patch right now.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm very happy to see them there on that top step of the podium.
Yes, so am I. McLaren back on top once again. Lando Norris gets, I think, his second win of the season. Piastri's on the podium for the second time as well. Was it last time out he was on the podium, or was it the race before? I don't know. Might be back-to-back podiums for Stroll here. I can't remember what race it was. It was Brazil, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Brazil where he was on the podium. He was almost looking for a race win there, but he's third this time around. Hamilton still manages P2, so he's going to gain on us in the championship. We could have taken the Drivers' Championship this time around. We would have had to outscore Hamilton by 4 points. Instead, Hamilton's outscored us by, I believe, 12 points. So he's going to claw back a little bit of space, but we could still win it in Vegas next time out. Sainz was the only DNF of this race. Magnussen ended up with a 5-second penalty because of that contact with his teammate, so that got applied and he finished dead last. I think he was pretty much there anyway. And yeah, in the championship, it's now a 36-point lead over Hamilton. It was 48 before. So basically, after Vegas, if Hamilton's more than 26 points behind us after Vegas, we win the championship. 26 is the max as well, because if it's 26, he can get, if he wins and gets fastest lap in Abu Dhabi and I don't finish, it'll be a tie, then it'll go back to count back, which at the moment I think I have 4 wins, he has 3, but if he wins Abu Dhabi, that'll be 4 apiece. We don't know how that's going to happen, but basically, yeah, he needs to outscore us by at least 10 points, 11 points to be sure, to still have a chance going into Abu Dhabi. So that's going to be interesting next time out in Vegas, where we did not have a good race last season. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.